The knock. It was late October, and the autumn chill had begun to carve its teeth into the air. My boyfriend, Mark, was in Vegas for his best friend's bachelor party, leaving me alone in our quiet, two-story house nestled on the curve of a secluded suburban street. The neighborhood was the kind of place where porch lights glowed like fireflies at dusk, and the only sounds after dark were the occasional rustle of raccoons in the trash bins. But that week, the silence felt different, thicker, watchful. The first incident happened on a Friday. I'd invited a few friends over for a wine night, a feeble attempt to distract myself from the creaks and groans of the empty house. We'd sprawled across the living room floor, laughing over charcuterie boards and hocus pocus, the flickering TV casting our shadows against the walls. Around midnight, as the last of my friends hugged me goodbye and taillights disappeared down the street, I locked the door and trudged upstairs to bed. The doorbell rang at 1:17 a.m. I jolted awake, my heart hammering. The digital clock on the nightstand pulsed red as I lay frozen, straining to hear. Had I imagined it? Then it came again, a shrill, insistent ding-dong that echoed through the hollow rooms. My throat tightened. Mark's words replayed in my head. Don't open the door for anyone, not even if they say it's an emergency. I crept downstairs, my socked feet silent on the hardwood. Through the peephole, the porch was a void. No silhouettes, no movement. Just the skeletal outline of the maple trees swaying in the wind. I held my breath, debating. Ding dong. This time, it was followed by 3 sharp raps on the door. I stumbled back, my hip hitting the console table, sending a framed photo of Mark and me clattering to the floor. Hello, I called, my voice thin. Who's there? No answer, just the groan of the porch swing chains. I called the police, the unwelcome guest. The officers arrived 20 minutes later, a tall, broad-shouldered cop with a bored expression and his silent, younger partner. I stood shivering on the porch in my pajamas, arms crossed against the cold as they swept flashlights across the yard. Proudly kids playing ding-dong ditch, the taller one said, his tone dripping with condescension. You new to the neighborhood? Happens all the time out here. But it's 1:30 a.m. I protested, and they knocked after. He cut me off with a wave. Lock your doors. Keep your porch light on. You'll be fine. They left without checking the perimeter. I spent the rest of the night on the couch, clutching a kitchen knife, jumping at every creak. Dawn broke in streaks of pink and gold, and exhaustion finally pulled me under. The window. The next night, Saturday, was worse. I'd gone to a Halloween party at my friend Jenna's, a last-minute decision to avoid another evening alone. The house throbbed with music, fake cobwebs clinging to every surface, and I dressed as a zombie bride, my pale makeup smudged from nervous sweat. By midnight, the party's buzz had dulled my anxiety, but as I drove home, the empty roads yawned like a warning. I parked in the driveway, my headlights sweeping over the house. Something fell off. The living room window, the one I always locked, was cracked open, the curtains fluttering like ghostly hands. My stomach dropped. I definitely closed it. Inside, the air smelled faintly metallic, like wet pennies. I grabbed a baseball bat from the hall closet and moved room to room, flipping on every light. Nothing seemed stolen. The TV was still there, my laptop untouched on the desk. But the basement door, which I never left open, stood ajar. The basement was Mark's domain, a cluttered space of workout gear and holiday decorations. The stairs creaked as I descended, the bat trembling in my grip. Halfway down, a sound froze me. Click, 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 like a mechanical insect. Then silence. "Hello," I whispered. The voice came from the shadows below, raspy, guttural, yet horribly calm. "You're finally home." I don't remember screaming. I don't remember running. But I'll never forget the sound of the basement door slamming behind me, or the raw terror that propelled me across the street to my neighbor Mr. Garrett's house. He answered in a bathrobe, his face hardening when he saw mine. "Call the police," I gasped. Now, the search. This time, they took it seriously. 2 squad cars arrived, officers fanning out with flashlights and K-9 units. They combed the house, the yard, the woods behind the property. Nothing. No fingerprints, no footprints. Just the open window, which they deemed probably left unlocked by accident. "You're sure you didn't imagine the voice?" the taller cop asked, skepticism etched into his features. Stress and lack of sleep can do funny things. I wanted to scream. Instead, I packed a bag and drove to my sister's, where I spent the next 2 nights jumping at every car door slam. The aftermath. Mark returned on Monday, tanned and grinning, his suitcase full of Vegas souvenirs. He listened to my story with a frown, checking the locks himself, insisting we install security cameras. But the damage was done. Even now, months later, I double-check every window before bed. I startle at the buzz of the doorbell, and sometimes, in the dead of night, I wake to the phantom sound of knocking, 3 sharp raps, like a coded message from the dark. Was it a prank, a would-be intruder, or something else? Something that knew my name, my habits, the exact curve of my fear? The cops wrote it off as isolated incidents, but I know what I heard. That voice wasn't human. It was a thing that wanted me to hear it, that fed on the way my blood turned to ice. I've tried to rationalize it. Sleep deprivation, hypervigilance, a hallucination born of pandemic-era paranoia. But deep down, I know the truth. Some doors, once opened, can't be closed. And whatever stepped through ours that night, it's still waiting,